Hello and welcome to the MHG podcast. As usual, life can be a little bit miserable, life can be a little bit dark, so we are here to bring you as much light and as much joy as we possibly can. Unfortunately, life gets in the way, so this week is one of those episodes where we do go separate. I'm not going to make Stu do some outrageous editing stuff because I'm a bit late in recording as well. So when Stu comes in, he'll tell you how things are going and give you his games. I'm just going to jump straight in with mine. And I've gone for a little bit of a theme this week. I've gone for games that have wheels, essentially racing and driving games. So we're going to start off with one that's been out a short while now. Came out, I think, back in the end of May. And it's one I had my eye on and was kind of interested in. And it's called Truck Driver, The American Dream. Now, truck simulators, you've got your gold standard. You've got your Euro Truck Simulator and your American Truck Simulator. Both essentially the same games, just set in different places. And they are the gold standard. So anything really that comes to market is looking at those games, and either it's got to match those or beat those, or do something completely different. And Truck Driver is one that it tries to be different. So instead of doing just your usual, you're just driving a truck and that's it. It's just a simulation of driving a truck. This has got a story about it where essentially you are trying to get your career back on track. So stuff's gone on, you've lost your career, and you got to get it back on track. And you are a truck driver, you've got to take on jobs, go on long distance hauls. You've got to deal with all different things as well. So you've got obviously your main driving parts of it, and you're playing a character called Nathan and their journey about becoming successful, essentially. But what you get as you go, this tries to add in narratives such as building relationships and things like that in there. And whenever you do jobs, there's locals you speak to, you've got your family that you interact with, and it's trying to just add extra character to it. Now, the problem is, it is a nice idea, but it doesn't quite pull it off, and it feels just a little bit stilted. And if I'm being honest, I ignored most of it. It's just concentrate on the driving and the jobs, essentially doing what I can do in American Truck and Euro Truck Simulator. Which is, it's a shame because I like that he's trying to do everything and add these story elements. And there's lots of customization you can do and everything. So you can do different paint styles on your cab and everything. There's new parts you can add. There's just loads of different bits in there which are really interesting, but it just doesn't quite hit the heights that I need it to hit. So I did try playing this originally on Steam Deck, and it has a dedicated profile now, and it does work with caveats. When I tried playing it, just hung and it just wouldn't load and stuff like that. Now, it has a Steam Deck preset, and yes, it worked. Yes, it's serviceable, but it felt really sluggish. Now, I have played it on a proper PC since then, and it does feel that little bit better. But it's just that little bit sluggish on Steam Deck, which is a shame. But I did want to give it the benefit of the doubt and played it on a full rig, pun intended. So yeah, it's an interesting game. It's lacking the quality of existing titles out there, but it does try and do different things. It's got one of my pet hates though, and it's got a hunger meter, survival meter in there, and there's no need. And I know what it's trying to do, it's trying to get you to take in the locales. It kind of wants you to stop at various different truck stops and sort of like diners and things like that. And it's a nice idea, but I don't want it in my truck driving game. It's not a survival game. It's a truck driving game. And yeah, That's just a pointless mechanic for me. I don't see the point of it. It doesn't add anything to the game for me. And in fact, it probably stops it being that slightly bit more enjoyable if I've got to go, oh, I've got to stop here. I've got to manage my hunger. I've got to watch my hunger. I don't want to do that. I just want to hit the road and drive. Whereas I suppose if it had leaned even more into that, it could have done something interesting. But it seems to be a game that's teetering between two places at the moment. It's fine, it's serviceable, but it does just lack that little something that makes those good. The other games like really stand out. Your truck simulator games. Now, there is a however. It's only about 16, 17 quid. So it is a budget title. And I hope this does well because there's something there that I like. It's just not here at the moment. Maybe with a sequel or something down the line. So I hope it has, it does enough for the developers that they can do something else with it, develop it further or do a sequel or something. They've shot for something, hasn't quite worked out. It happens. Next up is a game that kind of got birthed from some other games that were out in the past and was shadow dropped during not E3. I think during the PC gaming show. I might be wrong. I watched a few of these presses over that time. And it's Exo Rally Championship. And this is very, very interesting. A very interesting game indeed. So you kind of on this wasteland planet type thing, this unexplored remote place. And for whatever reason, there's basically a competition, a rally competition in these futuristic moon buggy type things. And the idea is you got to get from point A to point B via a bunch of different checkpoints in the fastest time possible with the least damage possible, as you would in a rally. Except instead of going through, the Welsh countryside or the snowy regions of Sweden or Monte Carlo and things like that, you're doing it on a barren, weird planet with all kinds of dangers. And it's a really interesting concept of where to put it. And you've got little things like there's different gravitational things. You can use thrusters to work your balance out as you hit certain elements. And you might go flying. You can plot your routes and everything like that. And each checkpoint isn't always just a go through this checkpoint. You might have a checkpoint that wants you to do something different. And it's really interesting here. So you might have a checkpoint where you've got to pass it on the right-hand side. Another one, you've got to pass it on the left-hand side. And yet, that's all fairly basic. And another one where you get to it and you've got to essentially hold a donut before you can pass the checkpoint. And as you hit it, you start your donut, the checkpoint's moving with you. Really interesting concept. Others where you need to go and do essentially a U-turn before you can go through the checkpoint from the other way. You've got to get to your end checkpoint, and you'll finish in the leaderboards. And the game tries to add a lot of personality in there. So there's different characters, and each have a personality. There's an overarching story as to why this is and how this is, and all those kinds of things. And it's really, really just fun. I started playing it, and I was like, is this? I'm not sure. Is this going to be like a one and done thing? But I played it, and I finished it, and I finished like 5th. Didn't do great. But I wanted to go again. I wanted to go again. I wanted to have another go. And it's really good. It really has that, despite initially being, there's just so many elements, it's just going to be, if I get to the end, I'm glad. You start looking at how you can shave time off. How can you approach things? What risks can you take? Where do you have to play it safe? And there's no pathing, really, at all. It's almost, I would argue, closer to a Paris-Dakar style rally. And the Dakar, rally games are their own thing. And it's probably closer to that, but with the constraint of a standard rally where, look, here's you've got to get to your point, but you've got to hit these points. And they're kind of on a path, but you're not limited to that path. So they'll pop up when you go near them. It's got a career mode on there, and you've got online leaderboards, of which mine are very sparse, I won't lie, because I played this just a few days after release, and I don't think it's been quite picked up yet. There's various different upgrades you can do, different customizations you can do if you're really into tuning. I believe tuning really does have an effect, because I was able to do some basic stuff and it helped me in certain places, like working on my suspension and stuff like that. And there's stage, you could edit, basically create your own races, which is really good, share them and stuff like that. So there's plenty going on here, and like their claim is that the stages, you get the landscapes of up to 10 kilometers squared, and it does feel like there's plenty of room to play in, but it doesn't feel vacuous for the sake of feeling vacuous. Again, with this one, I have played it on Steam Deck and it is playable, but it does need something a bit beefier to get the best out of it. But overall, yeah, this is a very, very interesting concept. It's for someone who's been missing roll cage, and grip hasn't quite done it for me. This isn't roll cage or anything like that. This is closer to a rally sim just set on a different planet. But for someone who likes these futuristic racers, and doesn't just want to see another one trying to do a Wipeout clone, this is an interesting take. I like this. I like where this is going, and I want to see more of this. I want to see them really push this forward in months and years to come, and see what they do. Highly, highly recommended. And last up is a game which is essentially a 90s arcade racer, which seems to be in a bit of a boom at the moment. And this one is called 4P GP. And it's kind of got that definitely Blue Skies thing, but a bit virtua racing-y, but with modern aesthetics to it. It's, if you look at it and you go into it, you can recognise a lot of the fake sponsors and liveries on the cars. You can quite easily tell the 80s and 90s McLaren that's in there, the Williams that you get in there. I think there's a Ligier in there, loads of different things. And this is just very simply hit the track, drive, finish first in arcade mode. And it does what it says on the tin. There's not really much to say about this. You've got a single player, just like stuff in there. So you've got your basic championship, quick race, a time attack. There's split screen multiplayer in there as well. Not any online multiplayer, which is a shame, because again, for me to get 4 players in the same room is not easy, and it would be nice if you could. I've not tried it with the Steam Deck's plugin that allows you to make any game streamed as local kind of thing. That might be an interesting one to try. But there's quite a lot of variety. So some of these come out and they lack variety. This has got 14 different circuits that are recognisable. They're not one-to-one copies, but you will recognise them for what they're based on. Like Monza, it's kind of weird. So you start playing it, and Monza's one that really throws me out, because I get down that first straight, and I'm expecting that slow right, left, right chicane that you really have to slow down for, and it's kind of not there. And every time I'm doing it, I just can't get it out of my head. I'm starting to slow down. I always get past, and I've got to then catch back up for the rest of the level. And the developers are listening. Get that chicane in your fake Monza. But other than that, yeah, it's all recognisable. It's a who's who of famous tracks, famous cars, given the legally distinct liquor paint. It looks lovely. It's 60 frames per second, which I think, I'm not a big carer of frames per second in a lot of games, but I think arcade racers, you kind of need that smoothness, and this is buttery smooth, 60 frames per second, even on Steam Deck as well. But yeah, it's really, really fun. The AI is basically, you've got from rookie up to sort of like expert levels with everything in between, all the usual stuff. And for me, I think the best balance was the veteran difficulty. Expert was just too much, and rookie was just, you might as well be time attack. And whilst novice did give you some challenge, you kind of got to the front, went off, and you was away, just avoiding a few cones. I think for me, veteran is where it's at. That's where the challenges are. It's where you've got to think about when you overtake, how you overtake, those sort of things, all in the arcade mode. So it's not sort of like sitting behind another car for 3-4 laps waiting for a mistake like you would in a sim race or something like that. It's, yeah, you see your moment, you go for it. It's, you know, it's very forgiving on those types of things. And it's, again, we've got these things, so I've not used it, but I did chuck it on for my daughter to have a little play with different assists on there that really help it. And yeah, it plays really, really well. And I have just seen as well, so you can do remote play together stuff on there. So I didn't notice that when I played it initially, but it does support remote play together. So even though it's not got online, you can do remote play, single screen stuff. So that's really good. So yeah, unlocks in there because it's an arcade game, plenty in there, plenty of fun. If you're after a decent arcade racer that gives you something a bit different, this yeah, it is good, worth getting. So yeah, you know, some decent potential and some really good pickup now, driving games. Yeah, take your pick. But yeah, that's it from me. So for me, it's goodbye, and then Stu will do what he's got to do. Goodbye.
So yeah, sadly, me and Brad couldn't meet up this week. I believe he's at Rogue Deck Builder Fest, which I think is a little bit like Herogasm from The Boys. So, you know, he'll need some time to clean up, get himself sorted, all that kind of caper. But yeah, so what have I been playing this week? Well, I've had the pleasure of playing a game called Nova Swarm. Nova Swarm. Not Nova Storm. Nova Swarm. Which is a kind of Space Invaders-y Galaga alike, where you have a huge alien fleet drop down from the top of the screen on a single screen, and you have to fight wave after wave of them. So it's like a horde shooter for, millennials. One interesting thing is that it's not rogue at all. It's not a roguelite or a roguelike. It's just a plain old shooter. But in a positive way. That sounds dismissive, not being dismissive. What's very positive about it is that you get these waves and there's a lot of combo potential in each one. You get additional, at least one bonus satellite item that you can shoot as well to boost your score. And the more you chain the hordes together, obviously the higher your score gets. You also have lots and lots of time-limited pickups that enhance your craft in some way. So increase your speed, increase your firepower, change the firepower type, including sort of like slowing your enemies and things like that. All done very nicely. And the waves attack in a way that you possibly wouldn't expect from this kind of genre, in that they fire slow-moving bullets for the most part, which fill the screen. And so after filling the screen, if you kill the enemy, their bullets disappear. So it incentivizes you to destroy the entire chain as quickly as you can. Very frequently, you get boss enemies drop in, and they're all based around the same sort of design and pattern, but they switch it up. So some of them have instant attacks, some of them have charge attacks. They all teleport when you've defeated their first phase and stuff like that. So their movement is interesting and throws you off. Adds a bit of variety without there having to have been a massive amount of development gone into the creation of lots of different patterns and stuff, which is important because this is what sort of Brad and I would class as a cup of coffee game. So, it costs what a cup of coffee costs. It's like $3.50, that sort of thing, £3.50, €3.50, whatever. It's what you'd pay for a coffee, and it does its job really, really well. It's great fun to dip into. There's a good global leaderboard, which I was top at for very briefly. Now, I think I'm second. I was as of yesterday, as of recording. I don't think I'll stay there for very long. I'm not particularly brilliant. I'm moderately okay at vertical shooters. I really enjoy this kind of, Galaga Galaxian kind of game. I always have. One of my favourites was on the PC Engine, Galaga 88. And one of my favourite games of all time is Galaga Legions. Galaga Legions DX as well, which were only available on like 360 and PS3 stores, I think. I certainly don't have access to them now apart from on my PS3 whenever I dig that bugger out. So I don't get to play it very often, which is a shame because it's one of my favourite games of all time. It's such fun. Have a look at YouTube videos if you've never come across that. Galaga Legions, superb. And obviously, this doesn't have that budget. It doesn't hit those heights, but it's still an excellent game. And the most important thing is that all of the mechanics gel, and all of the physics and inertia and all of that stuff that you expect, because they're what define the base of a solid, competent shooter. They're all there. So anything on top of that is gravy, and there is some good gravy with this. It's fun. The blasting is good. Enemies take multiple hits, which adds to the complexity, but there are a very minor niggle. I would have perhaps thrown in a few that were insta-kill, just to give you that feeling of power, because you want shooters to be a bit of a power fantasy. And you get that when you get the updates and upgrades and things a little bit, definitely. But they're all time limited, so you don't keep them until you die. They last for about 10 seconds, which gives you a good incentive to try and collect them in and amongst the melee. But I don't know, I would have perhaps made them last longer but do less damage, perhaps, just to give you that power fantasy, or put a mode in where they last for your entire life. My only other minor niggle, and again this is extremely minor, it's just to give a full picture, I'm not being overly critical, I promise, is that it takes quite a while. Once you become fairly decent at the game, it has that kind of Lumens versus Tetris thing, where in Lumens it takes you a long time to get back to where you were. So if you're good at the game, you'll be playing a lot of the game to get back to the point where you're competing. Whereas in Tetris, it's a much shorter experience, and it takes you a much shorter time to get to the point where you're competing with yourself. So you might be there, like, after a little while, I was there for like 10, 15 minutes getting back to where the game started to really challenge me, and there wasn't quite enough variety in it to like make me want to go back to that constantly like you would with the best compulsive loop games. But that said, it's an insanely low price. It's really mechanically solid. It's very good fun. It's the sort of thing you'll easily get your money's worth from, like, within half hour, something like that. It'll pay for itself several times over in terms of fun, without a doubt. Really good value for money, very solid, and an entertaining game. Ironically enough, just before I got an Overswarm to review, I bought Sektori, which has been on my radar for ages and ages and ages, and is in the same sort of ballpark in that it's a old-fashioned D-style shooter, but this one's a twin-stick shooter. I'm not sure whether Brad's reviewed this in the past, but yeah, it's very... It does a lot to differentiate itself from Geometry Wars, and I think the main thing that it does to differentiate itself, so you still, your ship flying around, enemies teleport in, you're within a very constricted playfield, so movement is everything, and twin stick. It differentiates itself quite a significant amount by tweaking the stage constantly. So the walls and the perimeters and the general environment is constantly shifting, and you have to be aware of that and move to account for it, as well as dealing with all of the enemies. And it makes the learning curve on this one very steep. Very steep learning curve, but it's got that lovely neon infused lighting that makes you enjoy this kind of thing. And it's very much one of those that you need to get into a flow state to appreciate and to become any good at. But whilst you're doing it, it looks phenomenal. It's got a lovely design to it, very simple, individual pieces and elements that are thrown together in a chaotic jumbled, exciting kind of a way that gets the adrenaline pumping. And yeah, it's got fantastic reviews, and I don't know really why I waited so long. Oh yeah, I do. I was unemployed and I couldn't afford it. It's not an expensive game. Both this one and Nova Swarm are currently on sale, but unfortunately by the time this comes out, so this is speaking on the 12th of June, and the Bullet Hell, I think it's called Bullet Hell sale, is going on in Steam until the 15th. So unfortunately, unless you listen to this podcast very early, you're only going to get a couple of hours in which to make the most of that sale. But they're both in the sale, both reduced, Sektori and Nova Swarm, and both of them I highly recommend checking out. And I'm afraid that's all there is for this week. I haven't got anything else to really talk about. I did play the demos of both. Oh, actually, a few things. So I played the demo of Silver Pines, which is a 2D side-scrolling Silent Hill-alike, or probably more Alan Wake-alike, which has got a lot of promise. I decided it's not for me, but I think it's very promising for the kind of, survival horror community, and I'll probably watch some runs and playthroughs of it when it comes out. If you like that kind of thing, definitely check that demo out. The new Onimusha game, Where the Sword, I played that through. Good early signs. It's got, it's RE engine, so it looks great. And the environments are interesting. I'm not sure they're quite as standouty as they could be. A little bit muddy, but yeah, gameplay-wise, very impressed so far. It's got a lot of movement and fighting and defense tech that you have to get good at, because there's lots of parries, blocks, evades, deflection. Yeah, there's a lot in there to learn, like more so than Ghost of Tsushima. So, it's definitely got the chops. And finally, the last demo I was playing was Sprawl Zero, which is the sequel to Sprawl, which came out in 2023, and we reviewed in episode 193. First-person shooter, and the original game looked exactly like a PS1 game. This one looks exactly like Quake 2, running on an era-appropriate PC. The whole design is exactly like that, but also, the original game had all the texture warping and the kind of blocky bitmap graphics that a PS1 game would, whereas this has those kind of lovely angular textures and that kind of sepia toned kind of look to it that Quake 2 kind of has. Really interesting because it's got lots of Fear influence, FEAR, that game. First, was it? See if I can remember what it stands for. First Encounter Armed Response, I think it was. Something like that. So, the one where it's military against ghosts. Great premise. Lots of slow-mo, slow down, bullet time kind of stuff. And lots of Quake 2 style weaponry. Seems a really solid game so far. I really enjoyed the first one, so I'm looking forward to playing this one. So yeah, that's it for now. So as we wave goodbye to Brad and his rogue-gasm, I'll say the usual. Follow us on all the socials. Make sure you check out our content on the website. Join us on Discord to chat. And until next time, stay safe and stay sane.